Loose Change went online in 2005, it caused a huge uproar all around the world. And now there's a recut version for the 6th anniversary of the attacks. We spoke to director Dylan Avery on the webcam, but first, here's what all the fuss was about.
There's FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Most people would agree that two planes brought down the Twin Towers on September 11, 2001.
The federal government would have us believe that these massive structures were destroyed by 10,000 gallons of jet fuel.
But not the producer of this online documentary.
Are you sort of suggesting that this worked in the favor of the Bush administration?
Oh, absolutely.
Dylan put Loose Change online in 2005. Within months, it had 10 million views and worldwide attention, which inspired a second version in 2006 and the final cut in 2007.
If the government has nothing to hide, why are they so afraid to answer a few questions?
But Dylan says it's not 9/11 victims' families who are the biggest critics of the film, it's strangers online.
Why is the damage to the Pentagon completely inconsistent with a Boeing 757?
What made you want to decide to follow what was happening after 9/11?
I didn't really get into 9/11 as much as I am right now until about mid-2002. I just found a couple problems with the official story. The first thing that jumped out to me was the Twin Towers.
You were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers.
Like, as I said, I didn't really follow it initially. To me, it seemed to be what was advertised, which was a surprise terrorist attack.
At what point did you decide you were going to actually make a documentary out of all of the information you were finding?
The main reason I started looking at 9/11 is because I wanted to do a fictional project. The best way I could describe it would be a fictional project in non-fictional times. When I go back and read it now, it seemed like back in mid-2002 I already knew what was going on. I started looking into 9/11 because I wanted to do this project, and as I started looking into it, that's when I started seeing more and more problems.
Not even the experts agree with each other. So what else could have caused the Twin Towers and Building 7 to collapse?
How did you go about finding some of the information that was helping you to build your case?
I think a lot of people get the impression when they watch this movie that I'm doing something extraordinary, that I had access to information or footage that people didn't have. A lot of it's all public domain. I don't have access to classified material. I don't have any government insiders. I'm really just going off of the information that's already out there.
As far as the reaction from the movie when you first put it online, what type of emails and feedback did you get from people?
Well, I guess when the first Loose Change came out, I was technically preaching to the choir. It wasn't until the second edition came out when things really got mainstream and we really got exposure from people who never would have seen the movie if it hadn't been someone who sent them a link in their email and said, take 5 minutes out of your time and watch the first 5 minutes of this movie. If you don't like it, you can shut it off. And a lot of people don't shut it off. They watch to the very end, even if they don't agree with it.
You've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources in getting this documentary to the point where it is right now. What's your motivation for all of it?
I just want to see a new investigation. I want to see an investigation where the family members actually have subpoena power. There's a lot of things about 9/11 that don't add up, and it seems like the more and more you look into it, there's no area of 9/11 that's normal. It seems that no matter what aspect of 9/11 you look into, there's just something wrong with it.
Why is the damage to the Pentagon completely inconsistent with a Boeing 757?
As far as the final cut, what can we expect from that?
Wow, I don't even know where to begin. All the major things we've caught in flack for, all the things that people have pointed us and said, well, you guys, your movie's great, but if it weren't for these 2 or 3 things, I could totally endorse it, but I can't because of these things. Those are the kind of things we've taken out. Things like the cell phone calls, things like Cleveland. There's all kinds of things that are just not going to be brought up in this. So that's one of the things that you're not going to see in the final cut. Really, if I had to describe it in shortest terms possible, we're putting our best feet forward. We're putting together the best information we have. We're trying to cut all the fat, but there's also a lot of information to be covered. I mean, the movie's, it's 2 hours right now, and there's still no conclusion to it. I mean, we have a conclusion, but it's not part of the movie yet. It's going to be a long friggin' film, and it doesn't bother me because there's a lot of information we have to cover. I just hope the viewers can handle it.
Here's what's coming up later in the show.